Hey, welcome back to Cash Keyboards. Now, while I clean up this mess, let me tell you about one more commission that I got from Dev the Devastator. He said, I need a keyboard, 60%, and I need to be portable. It has to have Bluetooth, and I don't really care what the theme is or how it looks, it just has to sound and feel good. So, after cleaning this up, let's jump into it. Alright, so for this build, we chose the Kemove DK61 Shadow Edition. It's got USB-C Type-C, it's got the Bluetooth, it has RGB, which is nice, and it's 60%. It's got a decent battery at 3000 milliamp hours, and it's hot swappable, 3-pin and 5-pin. So, let's get this unboxed and take a look at what we're working with. My first impressions of unboxing it, I do really like that all the information is up front and center. So many keyboards ship with no information on the packaging at all, and it's just in a black or brown box, and you really don't know what you're getting. So I do like that. And taking the lid off, you do see that it's got the plastic protector to help aid in damage from shipping, which is a really cool touch. I really like to see that from keyboard makers. Setting that aside, it looks like we do have 3 additional Gateron switches. Got green, white, and yellows. I would assume this is because the keyboard is hot swappable, so in case you want to feel a different switch and what the keyboard would feel like, you can do so, which is kind of cool. We have a braided USB-C cable. We have a keycap and switch puller, which is cool. And then, of course, the user manual. It looks like it's your standard quick start guide. It gets you information on the layout, the Bluetooth, and of course RGB. But we'll put all this back in the box and we'll switch over to taking a look at the keyboard. Now first we'll remove the plastic protector. And this is what we get. A really nice 60%. It's got a little bit of weight, still very plastic feeling, which is to be expected. The back says Kemove, and it has a weird Amazon type logo. And it has this weird serial number at the bottom. This looks like something you would see out of a corporate environment, which was something I wasn't expecting. But we have flip up feet. They have nice rubberized padding on them to make the keyboard not move. And then we have the on and off switch for the Bluetooth, as well as a Windows and Mac switch as well. That's really cool. Comes with a little bit of charge, so we can switch that on and we check out the RGB really quick. But let's go ahead and turn that off, and we're going to listen to what it sounds like stock, right out of the box. Alright, now that we've heard it, we have some improvements to make. So first things first, let's go ahead and get these keycaps off. You want to take a closer look at them. They are your typical shine through keycap. They say they're double shot PBT, but they don't exactly feel like it. But also, I'm not a fan of shine through keycaps, to be honest with you. The legends on these are clear if you're into these type of things, and they don't feel terrible. I've definitely felt worse, but they're not my favorite. So we're going to change these. But that's later, so we'll sit this down. We'll go ahead and get all these off there. We'll grab our tool and get the pulling. Alright, now that all our keycaps are off, we can check out what the board looks like with just the switches and the stabilizers. We're going to look around to see how we take this thing apart, so we're going to identify the screws as well. This looks like it is held in with just Phillips screws. So we'll need to get our screwdriver for that. It looks like our stabs are bright yellow, which was really unexpected. They got a little bit of wiggle in them, not too bad. I can see some lube on some of them, but not all of them. So we're gonna have to take a look and see what that's about. I wanted to feel under this sticker to see if there was a screw there, see if I needed to remove it, but it doesn't feel like it. So for now, we're just gonna start with the screws in the top of the plate. But first things first, let's get our switches out. Now as you pull these out, you can see that they're Gateron browns. Taking a closer look, you can see that they have the clear top housing and the whitish milky bottom housing. These are the G Pro series. They're 55 grams of actuation force, and again, they are tactile. Now, I don't mind these for typing experiences and some gaming. I'm partial to a linear switch personally, but I do know that Dev also likes linear switches, and due to previous builds, I also know he likes around 60 grams of actuation force. So, we'll go ahead and get them all out and replace them as well. Now that we have them all out, we can grab our sonic screwdriver. We can just locate all the screws and get them out of this board. Remember to always put them in a small container or something so you don't lose them. I have a really bad habit of losing them. They're a pain if you lose them. They're also really hard to find if they fly across the room. Not saying that from experience or anything, obviously. Also, double check if your plate doesn't come out on the first try like this. Double check to make sure you got all the screws. It's really easy to miss one. So here we did miss one right in the middle. Don't know how we missed it, but we did. So we don't want to break anything by trying to force it out. Just double check your work. So we get that last one out, and the plate should just lift out now. Lift out really easy, and surprised, it's actually metal. I wasn't expecting a metal plate, to be honest with you. We're going to double check our stabs real quick. They were a little wobbly, and I think they still are. And then looking at them closely, the lube seems to be really inconsistent. You can see no lube on some and a ton of lube on others. So we are going to have to address that. Before we adjust that, let's go ahead and get our PCB out of this and take a look at our case. We're going to lift it from the side, and remember, flip it backwards. We want to do this so we don't actually sever the connection to the daughter board. So you'll see your little connector on the side. You'll grab the sides of it with your fingernails or a small set of pliers. We'll just pull and disconnect it. And now our PCB is free. Here you can see the 3-pin and 5-pin hot swap sockets. I really like it. You also have a quality control sticker. You do have north-facing RGB, which I know is a deal breaker for some, but for me personally, it's not. Setting the plate aside, we have our case. And surprise, there's actually case foam. And then our battery, which is a 3000 milliamp hour battery. So our case foam does fit in quite nicely. And due to the marks from the sockets, it looks like that's on the foam. It looks like it's a rather tight fit where the battery is located. So I do want to elevate the case up to match the rest of it so it's kind of cohesive bottom to maybe bring out some of the hollowness sound. So we are going to cut up some EVA foam in a really precarious way and just kind of fit it in like a puzzle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to stop the vibrations and the sound waves from making an echoey sound through the plastic. So we'll start with there. Just cut up and get creative. So while speedrunning this, I'm using 2mm EVA foam, and we're just going to cut it into a bunch of little pieces and fit it in around the battery and try to bring the regular case foam up to an even level across the entire plane. Doing this, I hope to trap some of the vibration and echoey noises in that foam throughout the case so that way we don't have any extra sounds that we're not looking for. This is, again, optional. You don't have to do this, but I really want to try to make the best sound possible. After we fit it all in there, we're going to go ahead and grab some tape, and we're going to go ahead and tape mod our PCB. We're going to go a single layer of tape through this. Nothing too crazy because the tolerances are so tight, but I do want to bring some of the poppiness out of the switches. So hopefully one layer of tape will do that. And yeah, once we trim it down to size, we're just going to grab a small screwdriver and poke some holes where we know the posts are going to go through to make it a little bit easier to snap this into place. I don't always do this. Sometimes I do it with force, sometimes I don't. But this one, you can clearly see where the posts are. So we're going to go ahead and do that to make it easier. Now you can do this with anything pretty much sharp or pointy. Also note, I'm not hollowing out the entire hole. I'm just making a starter hole. The posts will actually make the entire hole, but this does make it easier to pop in. So if you're worried about forcing something in or applying too much pressure that may break the PCB, I would recommend doing this. It's pretty simple on a board that has a clearly laid out location for the posts. Remember, not all boards have that indication on the PCB. Sometimes there's just holes everywhere. But once you have all your holes made, we'll go ahead and grab our case and our PCB. Make sure you reconnect your connection, because boy do I forget about doing this all the time. And then we'll lay it back in. Once you have it in position, you can go ahead and apply a small amount of pressure, and each post will pop right through. If for some reason you think you're applying too much pressure or you're worried about it breaking, remember to back off and you can just make larger holes, or you can remove your tape altogether. It's really up to you, and you have to trust your instinct on this. Nobody can do that for you. But be confident, take it slow, keep it steady. You'll be good to go. All right, next step, stabilizers. We'll go ahead and grab our small screwdriver again, and you'll press the front tab in, and they'll pop right out. It's no problem, and then you'll lift them up and make sure you pull the bar out. You don't want to damage the bar or bend the bar at all. Keeping it straight is a must. So make sure you take this part slow. And the reason we're doing this is because of the inconsistency. We need all of them to have at least a little bit of consistency when it comes to lube, so that way we have a good sound profile. If you look here, we take it out and we have a glob of lube on one. But this isn't the case for all of them. Due to the amount of lube on them, we're actually not going to focus on lubing the housing, but we're going to focus on lubing the bar itself. I personally like a little bit of a thicker lube on my bars, so I use dielectric grease on my bars. But here you can see 205 in the housing itself, and there seems to be plenty. So we'll focus on just the bar. We'll dip our bar in just around the curve and pull it out. Then we'll reinsert it into our housing. And that's done. We'll move on to the other side and we'll rinse and repeat for all of our stabs. Once you have them back in, you can wobble them back and forth and you'll see them actuate up and down. There, you know you have them in the right slot. Once you have everything lubed, and we can go ahead and put our plate back on, and we can put our stabs back in. Lighting up stabs is pretty simple. You just pop them back into place. And if you don't know which direction they go in, it's pretty simple. You just look for the little tabs extrude on the sides and you line them up with the holes. It's a really easy method to know which way they go in and out. So make sure you just line things up, pop them back in, you'll be good to go. All right, our plate is on and our stabs are in. Now we'll go ahead and grab our screws and our sonic screwdriver and get this all buttoned up. And also struggle with getting the last screw in. Then it's time to move on to switches. For this, I chose the Gateron Black G Pro 3s. I really like these switches. They have a really good factory lube, as well as their 60 grams of force and their linear switch. So it checks all the boxes, and I don't have to break them open to lube them, which is awesome. They feel really good right out of the box, and we really like that. I also like to keep the theme Gateron. Since Gaterons came out of the board, Gaterons are going back in the board. A few things about them is that the stem is palm, the upper housing is PC, The bottom housing is nylon and PA66. It's got a steel spring and a 3-pin, which works for pretty much anything. It's sometimes hard to find just good 3-pin switches without going outside of big name brands. So I really like that. So add it all together and we have a switch we love. So let's get these in the board. All right, while we speed run putting our switches in, just make sure you line up your switches properly at this point. You want to pay attention where your RGB is, and you want to pay attention where your pins are. You want to take this part slow so you don't bend any pins. But also, since these came out of a box, you don't really have to worry about bent pins out of a bag, which is nice. Once everything's in, that brings us to keycaps, and these are them. We know the dev loves One Piece, massive One Piece fan, so we had to go with this One Piece keycap set. These are a PBT cherry keycap set. They are a full set, but I absolutely love the lettering and the legends and the novelties for this. If we take a closer look, you can see Luffy here. The colors are vibrant. The keycaps are really thick. They feel really good. They have a wonderful matte finish. And overall, extremely impressed with the quality of these. And this is how it came out. Honestly, I couldn't be happier. The keycaps are great. The board was really easy to modify. And it was really enjoyable. It was a simple process and nothing was really too big of a hassle. So let's hear how it sounds. All right, now that we've heard it, let's talk about some of the pros. It has 3-pin and 5-pin hot swap sockets. It's got included case foam, which is a nice touch. Gateron switches, stock, and you can choose from reds, yellows, and browns. It's got USB-C and Bluetooth 5.1. The packaging is really nice. It was super easy to mod, and it has a metal plate. So those are all wins. And it's all at a $50 price point, which is kind of surprising. Budget-friendly boards just keep getting better and better. There are a few cons though. The first one being the stabilizers and the lubing inconsistencies. Some were overlubed, some weren't lubed, and some were lubed just right. So if you do pick up this board, I highly recommend addressing that. The keycaps were rough and thin for me. It's kind of expected with shine throughs, but I think upgrading them is definitely worth it. And also, there's 2 different models of this board being sold, one with the USB-C and Bluetooth, and the other in full tri mode. I left a video in the description below explaining the difference and how to spot them, so make sure you just read the description, so that way you get the one you want, and you don't accidentally get the one that you don't want. But overall, it's a really nice keyboard for the $50 price range. I like the multiple connection types and how easy it was to mod. For how it turned out, after fixing the stabs, adding a couple mods, and upgrading the keycaps, I'm very pleased with the results. I think it looks awesome, it sounds great, and if you're in the market for a Bluetooth keyboard on a good price, I would recommend it. And lastly, I want to give a huge shout out to Dev the Devastator. He's a streamer on Twitch, and his links are below and you should check him out. I want to thank him for trusting me with a blind commission. He had no idea that this was the keyboard that I was making. And also, a huge shout out to Nerdreon.com for hooking up with all the One Piece merch for this video. The collab was awesome. And if you want to check them out and get one of their cool custom nerdy products, Their link is also in the description. So head over there, show them some love. And if you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you could drop a like and hit subscribe, it would help up the channel a lot. And remember, all the links to all the products featured in the video are in the description box below. Some affiliate, some not. That's it. The end. I hope you have a good day, and keep keyboarding.